Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, and listen as we have a calm conversation that is designed to help you find your way to sleep, possibly. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. You can just listen and calm everything around you. I'm your host, Marco Timpano.
I'm Amanda Barker. I'm sleepy.
Are you, Amanda?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us, both yourself, who's sleepy, and our listeners, who might be.
Thank you for joining us, both myself, who's sleepy, and our listeners, who are soon to be.
Amanda, I just read something that asked me what my favorite poem is, and and it says, "Do you have a favorite poem, poet, etc.?" So I had to think, and I was like, you know what? I remember really enjoying the poems of Irving Layton. Do you know Irving Layton?
Kind of.
Yeah, he's a poet from Montreal who used a lot of satire in his works.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In the 20s?
He was, I would say in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
I think he did a poem about William Lyon Mackenzie King.
I wouldn't be surprised. He
kind of made fun of him, if I'm thinking correctly. Because William Lyon Mackenzie King, for those who don't know, or maybe you've heard the name, he was our third prime minister, I think.
Sure.
I think he was our third prime minister, and he was quite a colorful character.
Okay.
And so one of the things he said, and this would make sense if it was written in the 20s, but William Lyon Mackenzie King, when asked if he was going to send people off to war and conscription, I remember he said, conscription if necessary, but not necessarily conscription. That was his big answer to that for the crowds, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But that was kind of how he was. And he also was really well known because he really consulted astrological charts to make decisions.
Right.
And I think if I'm remembering correctly, he not only did he have an astrologer that he would, make decisions for the company based on this person's predictions, but then he believed his cat.
Who doesn't?
I might be making this up. I don't know. I think he consulted his mother when his mother passed. He believed that she was in the spirit of his cat.
Okay.
So then he would consult his cat. And then when the cat died, he had seances to bring the cat spirit to life to tell him how to lead the country or something. I might be making this up. I don't know. This is buried in my consciousness.
He was the 10th prime minister. I just looked it up. So there you go. But he was prime minister. He served 3 consecutive terms, if that makes a difference to you. So I love the satire of Irving Layton. And of course, he was supposedly a predecessor or a teacher to Leonard Cohen, who I'm a big fan of as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who or what is your favorite poem?
Oh, gosh.
Or poet?
Well, we've talked about it many times before. I do love Robert Frost. I know that's maybe not an obscure reference. Maybe that's a really well-trod path, to use his own imagery, but I really do love Robert Frost. Okay. So probably Robert Frost. Mary Oliver is also fantastic.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
And I didn't know who she was until just recently. I don't read a lot of poetry. It's kind of sad. When I was a kid, I loved poetry, and I loved it a lot. I would write it, I would read it, and very often late at night, I'd be just kind of falling asleep, and then out of nowhere, this sort of lightning bolt would come to me of a poem, almost like a fully formed poem. And then I would have to write it down. If I didn't write it down, it'd be gone the next morning. So, it would mean getting out of bed, which I never wanted to do. But I would jump out of bed and write it all down, and write it down until it was out of me. And I heard once that Paul Simon wrote The Sound of Silence. Very recently, I heard this. He wrote The Sound of Silence that way.
Oh, wow.
That it just sort of struck him like a lightning bolt, like a fully formed song almost. And he just had to get it on paper and write it, both the lyrics and the melody. And he went into his bathroom at 4 a.m, in I think Brooklyn where he lived,
Sure.
and or Queens, and wrote it all down at 16 years old. The Sound of Silence.
Wow, that's incredible.
So I'm no Paul Simon. I mean, because I couldn't do the melody, and I miss that because I don't really have those sort of strokes of creative inspiration. Have you had that?
Not when it comes to poetry, and you know me and sleep, right? So I'm not the type of person to wake up and write something down, though I probably should be.
But have you had that feeling of like, I've got to get this out of me, this thought, this poem, this idea?
Yeah, I have, and I do. And sometimes, and Amanda knows this about me, but listeners might not know. I like using cue cards, and so there's always a plethora of cue cards in our home that I'm constantly writing on or using for work. It's interesting when you see the work that I do. I often use a lot of highlighters. I use lots of certain pens. You know, I love certain pens that have a nice flow of ink, and so I'll make a lot of cue cards that indicate what I need to know for a client. Today I had a very challenging client. They weren't difficult at all. It was just a very heavy subject, I guess you could say. And so it was a long process and a long day with these clients who were lovely. But I used a lot of cue cards, and I have a lot of cue cards around the house. And today I couldn't find my white cue cards. I needed 2 white cue cards. And I was like, where are all my cue cards? And they're not where they usually are, which means I've used them. But I'll often write.
Because I'm not using them.
No, you don't really use cue cards.
Well, I had a cue card agenda forced onto me when I was like in my, when I was like 13. It was like, they made me write speeches on cue cards, and I didn't want to.
Oh, wow.
But we were told we had to, that the only proper way to give a speech was to have it on cue cards. So I would write out these speeches and cram them into cue cards, but I would much rather have paper.
Okay.
That's just who I am. And so to me, they feel less scattered, less messy if I just have a couple good sheets of paper laid out in front of me. You don't always have the space for that. But but they were always like, no, you have to write it on a cue card, and it has to be point formed, the touch points. I get the concept, and I did do it, but I always felt like it was like forced on me.
That's more my style, the cue card and writing point form on cue card.
Who introduced you to cue card? Was there also a cue card agenda in your school?
No, what's interesting, I never used cue cards in high school, grade school, or university.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. We didn't know this about each other, that I was forced to, so much so that my entire Mount Allison application was all done on cue cards.
Oh, my goodness.
Embarrassingly so, I think. I don't know how they let me in, but anyway.
If you see a lot of my work today, I use a lot of highlighters. It's very colorful. It's very bubbly. You would think it was, a grade schooler writing my notes, but I make very thorough notes, and they help me separate ideas and keep concepts together. So for me, that totally works. So
your notes are always great. Mine are not.
Going back to poetry and poems, one of my favorite poems that you could not fit on a cue card would be Leonard Cohen's A Thousand Kisses Deep, which is also a song, but it was a poem that had constant evolution because he was always adding to it. Yeah. And so one of my favorites.
Should we read our poems, or some of our favorite poems?
Oh, yeah, we can, but that's a really long poem.
Well, there's a poem called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver that I really, really...
Do you know it off by heart?
No.
Okay. You can certainly read it.
I'm trying to remember. Do you know any poems off by heart?
Just some dirty limericks, but I won't share those. I will say this. Amanda, do you remember we went to a hotel, this really cool hotel, which we may have mentioned on the podcast, but it's worth mentioning again. And every room in this hotel, it was in Paris, or it is in Paris, Ontario.
Ontario. So funny. You're like, it was in Paris. Well, it was in Paris, Ontario.
And some would say Paris, Ontario is as dynamic as Paris, France.
It's the Paris of Ontario.
Yeah, it certainly is. So they have this wonderful hotel where every room is themed that of an author. So it has a theme that reflects an author.
Do we remember the name of the hotel?
I don't.
It begins with a name. Let me see if I can find it.
The Ambassador Hotel, I'm going to guess.
No, it's like a name like Alderwood or something. Let me look it up because I feel badly talking about it and not mentioning the name for what it's worth.
Amanda's looking that up, I'll tell you this. So we went with some friends, and we had 2 rooms, and we were quite excited to see what author reflects our room.
Arlington, the Arlington.
That's what I meant, the Arlington. So our friends went in their room and they turned the key and they opened, and this was around Halloween too, so it was really interesting.
It was the weekend of Halloween, yeah.
Right. So they opened the door and they had the Edgar Allan Poe room, which was wonderfully designed and certainly thematic for the weekend.
Yes, there was a raven.
Most definitely.
Not a live one, but there was certainly a raven, and Poe's poetry, and it was done in sort of an eerie kind of dark lavender indigo kind of the color of like twilight, darkness.
It was very somber too. It wasn't
very somber.
It felt very relaxing in a way.
A lot of blacks, a lot of dark sort of purples and lavenders. Yeah.
And of course, Edgar Allan Poe is a poet who a lot of people like that poem you mentioned, the Raven.
Yeah,
people
I guess he's a poet.
it.
I always think of him more of a short story guy, but yeah, I guess he was a poet.
But isn't that
the Raven a poem?
His poem. I'm going to guess it is a short story poem. Whatever.
Quoth the Raven nevermore. Yeah, because there's repetition there.
So we were glad to see our friend's room, and they're like, "Okay, let's go to your room and see yours." And we were quite excited, and we turned the key and opened the room, and it was the Maya Angelou room, so it wasn't thematic with
spooky
with Halloween. So, but I remember that we
were hoping, like, there's a Mary Shelley room, for example.
Sure.
So we were hoping for like a Frankenstein, something
thematic.
Halloween.
And I remember that above the bed was her poem, "Still I Rise," and they painted it on above the bed frame, and it was actually quite lovely to see that. It's like one of your favorite poems written above your bed, and it's an inspirational poem, especially thematic with rising from bed too. Like, I just thought it was really, really cool in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like I took writing in university. I wrote poems in university a bit more, and we had all these different assignments of forms of poems that we had to write.
I remember in school, whenever we had to do a poem assignment, I would always choose the haiku because I thought it was easier to write because they were short poems. I did.
Actually, harder to write.
It is harder to write, but not when you want to get it done quick, and you don't care about the what comes out as long as it meets that style.
No, I loved it. I mean, any type of class or assignment where I had to write a poem was joy for me. I loved it.
You know what I love too? When you're on the TTC, which is the Toronto Transit System, for us it's the subway system, they have writer poems on the, I don't know what you call it, like the little area above where you sit. There's an area where you'll often see advertisements, but they'll also add writer poems. So if you're a writer at the TTC, you can submit your poem and it might be featured there. And when you're standing, because there's no room to sit, and you're waiting, you've got a bit of a way to go, those can actually help pass the time, and you can really appreciate it. I read a haiku recently that was really beautiful, and I was like, oh, that's why these are so great. And I couldn't tell it to you right now, but I really...
Should I read Wild Geese?
Of course you should.
Have it. Okay. Let me just angle it so that it's a little more legible.
Amanda's a great reader of poems. When she reads poems. I always enjoy that.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. Okay. Let's see how good I am. I have no glasses on.
Should I honk while you're doing this as a goose?
For geese?
Just for sound effects?
No.
No? Okay.
Here, there we go.
Might be disruptive for our listeners.
All right. So this is Mary Oliver's Wild Geese. I'm feeling a lot of pressure now that you said, man, it's a really good poem. I mean, I'm just going to read it.
A cold read.
It's a nice cold read of a warm poem. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are making moves across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things.
And there you go. Wild Geese by
Mary Oliver.
Very nice. Thank you, Amanda, for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love hearing you read poems. We should have an episode where you just read a whole bunch of poems.
Sure, I could read all my favorite. I have a Robert Frost book upstairs. I can blow the dust off that.
Let us know if you'd like to hear that, and please share with us your favorite poem, and maybe we'll include that in the poetry readings that Amanda will do on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We mention these things and then we forget about them, but if that's something you'd like to hear, let us know.
Yeah, I got a text from an old friend today, and I haven't talked to her in a long time, and it just reminded me that she gave me a poetry book, and I'm trying to remember which one. I think it was poems. There was a Kennedy reference, so it was like the favorite poems of Jackie Kennedy or something like that. I don't think it was just Robert Frost, although I associate Robert Frost with sort of that time frame, you know,
sure.
50s, 60s. But I think I have to think about it. I think she gave me, I'll have to look. Anyway, I'll remember that to her. Although I don't know if I still have the book, but I probably do. I don't keep many books. You don't. I try really hard not to keep books.
The books you have are the books that you cherish and might go back to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's very few. I mean, I'm reading Emily St. John Mandel's books right now and realizing that all of her books are interconnected in fairly thin threads. Like it's more like little Easter eggs throughout the texts of different characters or people that you might know, sort of passing through other people's narratives, which is really interesting. That term Easter eggs, that's a video game term, right? People say that?
Oh,
Easter eggs?
Oh, that's a good... I don't know.
Like, where did that... I mean, obviously we know Easter and Easter hunts and things like that. Egg hunts and finding, treasure.
Sure.
Sort of buried. But we now say it for literary references and movie references. I'm just trying to think of where that came from.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I will read here Irving Layton's poem, Whatever Else Poetry is Freedom.
Okay.
That's the title of it. And it's a cold read, so I'll read that just to share one of Irving Layton's poems. Whatever else poetry is freedom. Forget the rhetoric, the trick of metaphor, the painted face it wears. Believe me, not for a moment did I think the word arrangement and sweet sounds were all. No, it's the naked face which I approach. Others may sing White Peak, but I have seen it and prefer to celebrate the smell of human sweat. These poems... I guess I should stop here because are my penis fencing with death.
Wait, what? People are falling asleep.
I didn't expect that turn. What?
People are trying to fall asleep.
I know. I just wasn't expecting.
And now you went crazy.
I didn't. It's just, when you pull up a poem called Whatever Else Poetry is Freedom, you don't expect that.
You could have glossed over it.
I guess I could have. Whatever else poetry is freedom, I shall not make it pretty with...
I looked up and he was kind of like smiling at the mic, not sure what to do. And I was like, what's going on?
Well, there you go. A little poetry can really affect emotions. Let me continue the poem and finish it off.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
To you and to Irving.
Whatever else poetry is freedom, I shall not make it pretty with comely nouns, nor sweeten it to please.
What's going on?
Okay, I think I'll just skip this part here.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I think I'll just stop.
We see why you like Irvin.
Yeah, so
he's not fit for
it's not
for sleep time.
Yeah. So, anyways, speaking of spring poetry and Easter eggs, our peonies I saw.
Wait, what?
Yes, They're
Really?
Yes, they're popping out and ready to.
Those poor peonies.
They've been through so much, and
Every year they get moved, and the one thing you know about peonies is they hate to be moved.
And it's not, and trust me, we are not moving those peonies. The city has dug up our front area, our front yard, if you will, a couple of times last year and moving our peonies. And I was not pleased, to say the least, with regards to that, Amanda. So hopefully our peonies, who are popping up right now, will delight us with flowers. Peonies is one of my favorite flowers, as are the crocuses that came up this spring. I love to see crocuses, and they were popping their heads, and they came in little waves, which I like. The yellow ones came first, then purple.
Yeah,
and
yellow first, then purple. Now we're into the white.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Usually they in the past they've come out at the same time.
It's weird. Yeah, it's really been color based, and I don't know why that is, but it has exactly been that. Yeah, I don't know why. I thought the white, when the yellow came up, I thought, oh, no white. There's a yellow and a bit of purple, and then a lot of purple. And I just thought, oh, we used to have white. I wonder what happened to them. And then up they came.
Yes, they did.
Do crocuses come in other colors other than those?
No, not. Well, I mean, I think there's like some mottled, or like some crocuses that might have a little bit of pink tinge to them. But I do know the crocus is what provides you with saffron.
Right.
The saffron crocus. So.
And then in between the crocuses and the peonies, we must mention that the tulips are coming up.
Have you seen tulips come up?
Well, there's the leaves for the tulips.
Oh, that's
up.
great.
And then there's daffodils, and there is a daffodil that's going to emerge there. Every year we get one. We get the leaves of a bunch, the promise of a lot of daffodils, but usually only one kind of pokes its head through. But my mom had a good point. She was talking about my dad's gardening that he does, and container gardening, and she said, if you really want, because I give him seeds all the time of different fruits and veg to grow in his little container garden that he has. And she said to him, if you want these tomatoes or beans, whatever, if you want them to grow, you really have to invest in better soil.
Yes,
because he hasn't been. And so now apparently my dad is buying like the Cadillac of soils, and she's like, okay, you need to calm down with the soil, because that's all he's doing, because he's seeing the results. But I would say the same to you and I about that little patch out there. Like, I don't think we use the best soil.
I'm going to buy, that's a really great point, Amanda. I'm going to buy soil this year and add some nice soil to that front mix, or to that front.
Because honestly, it gets dug up by the city. It's right on a sidewalk, so
it's also city soil. When they were digging it up, they were like, this is so hard. This is like, really, it took them 3 times to dig where they needed to dig.
It's amazing. Anything grows, to be honest, from there. So they could probably use a little TLC. And then of course the lilacs will come next month.
My nephew was really interested because his mom pointed out the buds on our tree. And so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. We do have a beautiful lilac tree. Thank you to Margaret, who planted it for this house. Yeah. This was her house. She was the only other person who lived here, right?
No, there was, I think, one gentleman who lived here before that.
Oh, really?
I found his bank card in the wall one time.
Really?
Yeah. So there you go.
In the wall? Do you think you put it there?
No, it was in the cupboard. In kind of when I was resurfacing the cupboard or something, it must have fallen out of where.
Oh, wow.
He must have lost it in there or something.
But I mean, it was from a time when we had bank cards, so that's interesting.
It did look like an old rudimentary bank card.
Okay,
yeah,
so the first generation. Do you remember his name?
L-I or something like that. E-L and then Lai, L-A-I, I think it was.
Oh,
something like that is what I recall, but not 100%. I will say this, Amanda, you mentioned your poem about wild geese, or not your poem, but a poem you liked.
Yeah, I did not write it, but yeah.
And for those who don't live in North America, in particular our part of North America, you might not see this, but the Canadian geese are coming home, and when they fly above, because they come home for spring and summer, they form a V pattern, and you'll hear them honking in the distance.
It's quite a thing. Wild geese flying is quite a thing, honestly. You hear them honking in the distance, and you just watch them as they come overhead. And this is when they fly, now they're flying back in to our country, but also in the fall when they fly south. And then you stand underneath them and you just hear this incredible flapping of their wings. I love that sound, just the flap, flap, flap of their wing. I don't know how to even, it's just the sound. It's a really gentle sound. So flap doesn't quite encapsulate it, but it's just the sound of like the wings pushing the air. And you can almost like I don't know, how would you describe it?
A ripple in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like a mechanical, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
The sound of geese flapping their wings. But it's a really cool sound. It's like a rush of air above you. Yeah. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
The sound of the equinox, if you will.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Well, on that note, I hope you will tell people about this podcast. Let them know that we're here for them. The more listeners we have, the more we can produce. And that's Amanda yawning. So I think it's time we say
good night.
We hope you have a lovely rest of your day, evening, or afternoon. And until next time, we hope you are able to listen and sleep.